Yes. So good afternoon, everybody, and I'm welcoming you on behalf of the office of the Ministry of IOC in Zagreb at Indian Embassy in Zagreb, and also ICCR. And with us is Ambassador of India in Croatia, His Excellency Raj Kumar Srivastava. And also we have opportunity that with us is also the Mimoun Abdellah, one of the, I call him the last samurai on the West. He was spending many years in Japan and undergoing traditional training as being a samurai and all martial arts there. And he is also a great yoga expert and yogacharya and the president of the World Movement for Yoga Ayurveda. So he will be also with us today, and we will have him some other time for a speaker. Now I would like His Excellency to give introduction to this webinar, which topic is yoga and its relation to the religion, to the culture, to the different aspects of our living, and also to the spirituality. And this is very interesting topic. So please, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Yogacharya Miklets, for organizing this. Of course, the topic is very vast and uh, open-ended, and you are going to talk about it more in detail. But I think it's important to understand uh, the the advantage of understanding this yoga as a thought process, not just as an exercise or as a something that we do together, but also the essence of yoga is about unity, and that unity is about unity with our overall existence itself. And I think in that, all other aspects come together. You are talking about culture, religion. I would add science into it, cosmology into it, uh, the physics into it, and that can be astrophysics of existence of planets. So basically, the overall existence in this universe is somehow connected, and that connection, the unity, is yoga. And I think once you have that kind of broad canvas vision, then what we do individually becomes much more inspiring, much more empowering, because ultimately in physics it is said that what you see at the universe level, you see the same at the atomic level or at the very small level, or as we call it in our Vedas, the sthul and sukshma, that means the macro and the micro, have the same story. It's just a question of focusing and understanding that the existence in universe is very simple. It cannot be complicated. And I think in that sense, everything is united, and yoga provides that broader depth of understanding. So when we do yoga in within our own body system, it is about that we can connect all our existence together, which means body as the tool, mind as the overall information system. But then there is this consciousness and then super consciousness. So if we can slowly take this journey from being focused from body and mind towards consciousness and super consciousness, uh, people have benefited a lot with that, because then you are able to deliver what you are here for. That means whole cell memory, whole body memory can be converted into a very fruitful life, not only for yourself, but for your society and for your environment. And that's the unity that yoga teaches us. You can talk in the language of culture, religion, uh, philosophy, science, but that understanding of that ultimately we are all united. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the whole world is one family, also essentially derives from this concept of yoga, that everything is united. And that is very empowering feeling for peace, prosperity, stability in the universe, in the ecosystem that we live in. So with that, I think initial thoughts, I think it's important that we understand why yoga is important for everybody across the borders of identity, which are created by religion, which are created by when you take the culture as something that you are living for. I think that yoga allows us to think breaching those boundaries and going across those boundaries to understand that we are all larger. There is a larger perspective in our human existence. Thank you very much, and I hope such kind of sessions allow to reduce any confusion behind yoga. Because when you talk yoga from the point of view of religion, it should be always thought that it is not restrictive in terms of religion, it is expansive and inclusive in terms of religion. And same thing applies to other aspects that you are going to discuss today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Your Excellency, for such a beautiful introduction. What is yoga and what is the main philosophy behind yoga. And actually, this is exactly what I will be trying to convey to everybody in this afternoon presentation about yoga. And for that, I will use some PowerPoint presentation, which I prepared, and then we will start. So do you see the, just a second. Do you see the screen, everybody?
Yeah.
Yes, you see the screen.
Yes, we can see it. Yeah.
Excellent, yes. So the topic is yoga and its relationship to religion, culture, spirituality, and different traditions. About 2015, we were in Croatia establishing the Croatian Yoga Federation. And at that moment, I was thinking we need to give some kind of proclamation about yoga, what it is, to make public understanding for what that federation is standing, what is the yoga, and some declaration about yoga. And I was consulting greatest expert in that field, the professor from the Department of Indology at that time at the University of Philosophy in Zagreb, academic Mislav Ježić. He's a really world-known expert in the field of Indology and Sanskrit and all the ancient texts related to the yoga and Veda. So then I prepared some draft and I gave him, and he was going through that, and together we made some kind of few points about what is yoga to define. And this I would like to read one by one point, and then to see what is your opinion about that. So yoga is an ancient knowledge of spiritual and then physical discipline. It contributes to the naturalness and supports a person in all areas of life. The positive effects have been confirmed by numerous psychological, physiological, sociological, and ecological studies. So this is what is somehow very well known and we can say confirmed about the value of yoga, that it has giving to so many people benefits which are scientifically verified, and it has also the spiritual and the physical discipline. And the basic concept and principles of yoga are contained in the fundamental text of the philosophical system of yoga, the Yoga Sutras, which is attributed to the sage Patanjali. In this record, in the Yoga Sutras, means yoga is defined in the following way. Yoga is the stopping of the activity of the mind stuff. So that it's Yoga's Chitta Vritti Nirodha. And the Chitta in the Western language, I found that kind of, in the English language, like a mind stuff. And there is, so these are the like simple elements of which consciousness is composed. It means all the content of the consciousness, which is of a different kind, of the sensory perceptions, feelings, thinking, memories, and all what is present as objects in our consciousness, which we can experience. So the Clifford, this is, he defined this as a mind stuff. And then the next sutra says that it's more clarifying what is that condition than the observer. It means the subject of consciousness, tada drashtuh svarupe avasthanam, means the drashtuh or the seer. Drishti comes from the drishti, to be able to see, to perceive. So the subject of consciousness, which is perceiving, remains established in his own image, in his own self, because he has no other object to experience which is different from himself. Then he is experiencing only himself. And then he is gaining the knowledge of himself. It means self-realization of his own self. So the self-realization is defined as a goal of the, and the means and the path of the yoga. So yoga we can relate as a state of self-realization, as a path to that also, and also different means which is used. So this is the definition of yoga from that ancient text of Maharishi Patanjali. Actually, we cannot say clearly who was the Maharishi Patanjali, that sage, because from some scientific Indological studies, they found that the Yoga Sutras started, the first chapter, something 300 years before Christ, and the fourth chapter was added at the 300 years after the Christ. So it is the span of 600 years, how these sutras are collected and arranged in these 4 chapters. But anyway, somebody did it, and he did it very well and very systematic, and the text is important, and the historical evidence is difficult to prove about the personality. So there are kind of myths, we can say. So we are just, that's why in the scientific study, it's studied the text and the meaning of the text. So then from that perspective, we say that the main objective of the yoga is self-realization, and it is the state of self-realization. The yoga system includes a series of meditative exercises, and over time, it has also developed numerous techniques for experiencing, monitoring, and modifying breathing and body activity. So at the beginning, the yoga was more related to the meditation practices. And then for be able to meditate, you must sit in some comfortable position. And that's why all the text related to the yoga in relation to some asana practice or sitting positions is related mainly to the sitting positions. That you are able to sit for a longer time in a comfortable, unmovable position to do the practice of pranayama and meditation. So yoga developed in India, which is why it uses traditional Indian terminology. So it is the name of the positions we have in Sanskrit and all the literature, because it was developed in India, then all the literature is written in that ancient text, in the language, Sanskrit. So this is the traditional literature which is available, from Yoga Yajnavalkya to Hatha Pradipika to Shiva Samhita, Geranda Samhita, and other aspects, Vijnana Bhairava method from the Kashmir Shaivism, region and other. There are hundreds and hundreds of different ancient texts which are written on that language. And her methods are universal and can be adapted to the cultural, religious, national, and traditional features of any environment. And she can transfer her method and techniques to overcome all these differences. So the yoga can achieve the unity of diversity and harmonize all aspects of life, and is therefore successfully applied all over the world. And that kind of universal value of yoga is coming from something which is common to everyone on this planet Earth, regardless to which culture somebody is belonging, nation, the color of the skin, or traditions, or religions, everything. Everybody has a body, everybody has a consciousness with all its functions, the function of the senses, the function of the mind, the function of the intellect, and the feelings, and everything is there. And the knowledge about that, all those aspects of life and how they are functioning and how they are correlated in their function and where can be the problems and how to overcome those problems is very clearly specified in the teaching of yoga, especially in the text of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is, we can say, completely text not related to any specific time and space, but it has its value, we can say immortal value, which can be relevant to any time in the history and any place on the planet Earth. And those kind of principles, it's important to understand properly. Otherwise, we have also some sign of some yoga positions from very ancient times, like almost 5,000 years ago, which were found. And then we can see here one person sitting in one kind of a yoga position, but you see the dress of that person and how it is presented. It's in some way not so common to any present culture which we are having all around. So it looks a little, we can say, unusual. So this is from that time. And then on the 2015, I was at that time president of Croatian Yoga Federation, and we were starting organizing our activities. And at that moment, there was also inclination to define yoga as a sport. And from different organizations and like this, and to organize competitions in the yoga, and so that we can see in which relation yoga is related with the sport. Again, I always tried to confirm my thinking with some experts, from the field of science. And then we asked the Department of Indology and Eastern Studies, University of Philosophy in Zagreb, again, Professor Academic Mislav Ježić, and then on my request, then they gave this answer. Upon your request, I can give a short answer from the point of view of Indology that above all, yoga is considered as an old Indian philosophical system which differs from other systems because it not only deals with philosophical thinking about its subject, but is also devoted to elaborated practical exercises. In classical yoga, as elaborated in the Yoga Sutras, first of all, yoga is stated as spiritual practice and as meditation practice. Over time, yoga developed many techniques for regulation of breathing and body as characterized by Tantric yoga, which is today mostly practiced in the West. This means that aspect of the Hatha yoga practice. Yoga, being a philosophical system, can't be considered as sport. yoga, a system of practical breathing exercises and body positions, has just a second, has only as much to do with sport as far as it is also dealing with the body. Yoga can be of a help for sportsmen, but hardly we can imagine yoga as a sportive discipline. Exercising slow breathing is something that sport judges can hardly evaluate, and it is even less interesting for public watching. Exercising body positions or asana can maybe be observed by the public, but for sure, this is not their aim. They don't involve any dynamic sport, and it is not clear how they could ever be evaluated. The inner sense and purpose of yoga will be completely lost if performed for public observation and judgment. And on the other hand, those exercises which are very precious for those who perform them, if shown in public like sport competitions, will not be able to offer any comparatively interesting entertainment. Apart from being a philosophical system and technique of meditative yoga, can also be considered as a therapeutic techniques for different purposes. Maybe it can find its place in healthcare and in health education and physiological culturing if the subject can be defined like that. But from the point of Indological expertise, this can't be considered as sport, and we cannot see any way how to organize a competition in yoga. So, so this is somehow very clear explanation about yoga cannot be defined as a sport, because in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, the aim of the practice of the asana, which usually now they try to have the competition on the performance of the asanas, the goal of the practice of asana is defined as tato dvandva anabhigataha. So this is the goal. So sthira sukha asana is the definition of that position, what quality it should have, and then while we are in that position, what is happening with us. This is the second sutra, which says Prayatna Shaitilya Ananta Samapati Bhyam. It means then when you assume that comfortable position, stable, then you are following that kind of internal movement and activity related to the breathing, which will be liberated from inside. And that pulsation of the breathing, that energy of the neuromuscular energy of expanding, retracting, is transferred to the muscles which are stretched or compressed so that they start pulsate. And through that pulsation, they are losing their tension and the stress. They are relaxing and coming to the tonic condition. And then the last sutra says, Tato dvandva anabhigataha. This is the goal. So that the goal of practice of asanas is to achieve the tonic state of the muscles. The goal is not mastering that perfect position from outside, or being able to do any kind of difficult positions, but to achieve the tonic state of the condition of the muscles, because the tonic is beyond the hypertonic or hypotonic, and this is the dvandva. These are the two opposites. Chronic hypertonic condition or chronic hypotonic condition are the two opposites, and the tonic is beyond two of them. So the main aim of the practice of asana is that person is able to have a tonic condition achieved in that position. But how you can, the public and those which are watching from the outside, how they can see inside the body of a person and evaluate whether he achieved tonic condition or not. So that's why outer evaluation is not related to that. Then this is the other kind of the practice with the physical body than gymnastic or other things which are usually organized competitions in the like Olympic Games or whatever. This is the outer performances which are evaluated. the performance of the other Vayus, the Udana Vayu who can jump higher, the Samana Vayu who can balance better in the gymnastic, jumping here, there, and Vyana Vayu who can run faster, swim faster, and everything. These three Vayus are operating in the outer system of our life. This is relation of us to the environment, to reach something outside and to achieve something in outside field. And this you can evaluate. Okay. But the internal Vayus, Prana and Apana Vayu, which are basically different kind of activity. It's a non-linear activity. It's a life-supporting activity. It has no outer goal. The only purpose has no outer purpose. Only purpose is to keep all your internal organs, life-sustaining organs, to keep in a good shape, in a good function, because all organs are pulsating in their function. So they have prana vayu expanding, apana retracting. And this prana, apana vayu, nobody was educating us in the school, in the gymnastic, in anywhere. And this is only the specific quality of the yoga to give us the knowledge how to function with prana, apana vayu in the asana position and to achieve that tonic condition. So that's why it is totally different direction. The yoga is directed inwardly, not extrovert, to become extrovert, but become introvert. That's why the yoga is practiced mainly with the eyes closed and using the proprioception. And now, to clarify this point more, any yoga system deserves to be called yoga if it brings self-realization, which is the state of yoga. Practice of any system of yoga should result in achieving the state of yoga or samadhi and higher states of consciousness. If some system is not giving ability of the people to reach the state of yoga, then even this name you add to yoga is not, how to say, authentic to the yoga. So only the practice which is able to bring you to the state of yoga is authentic to have the name of yoga. Because today you have creative, entertainment of thousands of the name of added to yoga, even beer yoga and all kind of things today. So the beer, I think, is not bringing person to samadhi, but to some other kind of cosmic unconscious condition, but not cosmic conscious condition. So then difference between the practice of yoga of the torso and yoga of the limbs. So I had, I can say, I was happy to meet one authentic master of yoga who was never calling himself personally as a guru or a master, because he said he's a simple doctor, medical doctor who knows something about yoga. But I found him to be the greatest expert and the master of yoga, I could say. And this is the Dr. Mukund Bole, Yogacharya. He is not anymore alive, but his approach was, from my point of view, very authentic, very realistic, and really giving the proper understanding of what yoga practice is. And then he used to say that today, mainly, people forgot to practice yoga of the torso, and they are practicing the yoga of the limbs. What is the yoga of the limbs? Is using the limbs, legs and hands, to bend them and to put them around the body in different manners to assume very some kind of artistic or difficult kind of positions to be performed, like outer performance of some asana. But the yoga of the torso is not using so much limbs, but it is using the function of the internal space of the torso, how to improve the function of prana and apana vayu. And that kind of the practice was lost over time. And there is a lot of scientific evidence why that kind of the practice can bring much more benefit, because all the vital organs of our body for our life are present in our torso, not in the limbs or in the hands. Then today practice is focused more on the outer shape of the yoga position and, and sacrificing even the condition of the torso, keeping the torso under the stretched and tense and condition without even having a relaxed breathing in the position, but holding the position and suffering just to prove from outside that you are able to do some very strange position. So what Patanjali says, Sthira Sukham Asanam. This means the Sthira and Sukham. The Sukham is somehow many times overlooked, that the position must be comfortable. So the movement towards the position should be comfortable. You should stop stretching your muscles at the moment of the maximum comfort. Not that you cross that feeling and then you are entering into the field of feeling tension in the stretching or even pain in the stretching. This is overdoing and giving the damage to the muscle tissue. So you should stretch in a way that you feel relaxation respond during the stretching, which gives you the feeling of the comfort, which comes to the maximum value. Then you stop. When you come to the point of maximum comfort, then you stop the movement and then apply breathing movement on that state. And then further you are pulsating on those stretched muscles with the internal prana apana vayu function and the breathing, and then this achieves the tonic condition of the muscles. Because this is what you were doing from your birth. You know, from your birth, you were stretching. Whenever you felt tension in the body, unconsciously your body was stretching. But this was unconsciously. And then you didn't get the knowledge how the body is doing that. Whatever our body is doing unconsciously, we are not getting the knowledge when we are unconscious about some activity of the body. But if we are able to be conscious at the moment that body is doing something to fulfill its needs, then we are gaining knowledge how the body is doing that. And that knowledge becomes the basis of yoga, of the yoga practice. So your body knows all yoga practices. It is living on the basis of the yoga techniques, but unconsciously. The autonomous nervous system, in the autonomous nervous system, Ishvara is sitting there. The greatest master and teacher of yoga is sitting in your autonomous nervous system. And you can learn from him directly, only that you become conscious of what is happening with you during the day, how it operates. And then if something goes wrong, then you know the method, then you can work on that to reestablish the normal function. And these are the yoga practices. So like this, in that sense, that Sukham is very important, because then they start teaching today, oh, you must stretch beyond your limits. Even you feel pain, without pain, there is no gain, all kinds of philosophies. And people are hurting themselves. If you see the animal, when the animal is stretching, it is doing that, the cat or dog, stretching. Why they are stretching? To release the tension. The only reason. Why you are stretching? Also to release the tension when you were doing that unconsciously. When you were doing that unconsciously stretching, you did original yoga stretching. But when somebody started to teach you in the yoga center how to stretch, then you went to the wrong direction. So the stretching is not intellectual thing. It is on the level of the feeling. You need to feel the movement from inside and go up, follow the feeling to that point of comfort, of sukha. And also the sukha means the ka. Ka means the fulcrum, the center of the wheel, the fulcrum where this lever comes. When the wheel is rotating, then there is a center to which it's connected with the machine. So then this su means comfort, so that it is connected in a comfortable way. Then the rotation of the wheel is normal and there is no tearing there. But if that it's not good connected, then it's dukkha, and creates the problem and the pain and everything. So it means that you can create inner harmony between all the parts of the body with the wholeness of the body. This is the sukha. So that each part of the body is comfortably seated in the whole structure of your body. Then overall feeling is the sukha. Then you are establishing that harmony on the level of the body. Coordination, perfect. And what I said, proprioception is very important, because they found scientific research, people who have better proprioception, they have less pain in the body. They have better function of internal organs, better coordination between all different internal organs. It has rejuvenating effect, many benefits. That's why yoga is practiced with eyes closed. No open eyes. This is not, you have nothing to do outside or look outside. You are looking inside and feeling from inside what is happening during the practice. So in that relation, the asana or position, we can have three kinds of positions, like a pose in art. You know, the person is posing for the painter to make nice painting of that person. It's posing. It assumes some position, but it is posing. The awareness is completely outside. It is for some outside gain. So this is not for sure, because today you will find people are posing asanas. They are posing asanas for nice photos to put on Instagram and putting here, there, or anywhere, you know, or for the public or for the students even. They are teaching. They are just posing. And this is not the practice of yoga. This has nothing to do with yoga practice. So then in the sport position, starting position, you know, the runners at the beginning, they assume the position. The position has another kind of the body condition. It is full of, you know, tension to explode in the activity. Also outward directed. And the posture, we can say, the posture is that which can be said that allows you to go in, to go to the inner levels of your being. So then we can say life or yoga, unity in diversity, is composed of 8 limbs. Ashtanga yoga, we have this in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, where the whole life is expressed in different 8 limbs. And then the sutra says, Yoganga Anushtanad Ashuddhi Kshaye Jnana Diptir Aviveka Kyatehe. That sutra, it is number sutra 2nd chapter 28, before 29, when these angas or the limbs of yoga are enumerated. And this is the basic purpose of the practice of yoga, for why we practice yoga. So why we practice yoga of different limbs. The practice, Yoganga Anushtanad, means the practice of the angas of the yoga. Practice of the limbs of yoga is for Ashuddhi. Ashuddhi means impurity. Shuddhi means purity. Ashuddhi, impurity. Kshaya means to reduce. So the practice of the limbs of yoga is to remove the impurities in your life from all levels. There are impurities on all angas, on all levels of your life. There are different kinds of impurities: physical impurity, mental impurity, on the energy level impurity, all. And then Jnana Diptir. Dipti means the light of knowledge. Jnana Diptir. Then this is developing the Jnana Diptir, the light of knowledge and ability to discriminate, viveka kyatehe, to develop that kind of sattva, shuddhi, or pure sattva, that value of the buddhi, which has the quality to discriminate between the power of the seer and the power of the seeing, or from the Purusha and Prakriti. And Patanjali says that mixture of the power of the seer and power of the seeing is resulting in ego. In that way, the self assumes the role of the ego. when the power of the seer, which is belonging to the self, to the Purusha, to that silent witness, becomes identified, mixed with the power of the seeing, which is the property of the Prakriti, to gain the experience and knowledge. When this becomes mixed, then ego appears, asmita appears. And from asmita, all other kleshas are appearing. And then all problems come to the life. So then the practice of these limbs of yoga is to go beyond the ego, to realize the true self. The ego is the not real identity. It is the instrument for the self. But, and this is the main purpose of the practice of yoga, to come back to your original state. And then these are the 8 limbs of yoga. Now Patanjali is enumerating like 8. Yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhyo, ashtavangani. So these are different levels of the life in which we are involved. So there is a life outside of us, which is universal value of life. And there is some kind of universal intelligence which is ruling that life all around, not only on the planet Earth, but in the whole universe. And then the yama means the ruler, the ruler. So this is the principles and the main principles, which are the qualities of the ruler, which is the field of cosmic intelligence or absolute level of life. And these are those positive values, which should be, if we say we want to live in accord with the nature, with the cosmic life, then we need to develop those qualities in our consciousness. When our consciousness starts to support those qualities of yama, then we are automatically coming in tune with that cosmic life to establish that relation in a perfect way. Then niyama is how we relate to us. These are the moral codes. Not these are the yamas are the moral, but niyamas are the taking care of your different aspects of your life to purify, to make that purity there, so that yamas can be lived in the life. So the niyamas are practical aspects of yoga, which we practice so that we can achieve the principles of yama. Then asana, the physical body, pranayama, the energy body, pratyahara, the level of the senses, dharana, level of the mind, dhyana, the level of the buddhi, and samadhi, beyond, beyond all, the state of pure consciousness or our own self. So this is from the self to from the innermost depth to the outermost aspect of life. It's covered everything. Those 8 limbs are covering the whole field of life. And actually, what is the source is the goal at the end. This is like a circle. That's why I like one saying from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi said once that evolution of life is from here to here. And it's just a matter of passing through there, which is also here. So in that sense, we see that holistic consideration of yoga. And now the life, even though universal, assumes specific characteristics according to its experience in space, geographical conditions, and time because of the round shape of the planet Earth. We can see that if we understand now what is yoga, that yoga is some transcendental field of consciousness, pure consciousness, which is the basis of everything. So this is the real seat of yoga. And from there, that cosmic intelligence rules the whole life in the whole universe, expressed as the laws of nature. And then we can see the planet Earth round shape. Then just one law we take, law of gravity. Then one law of gravity is assuming different quality on equator, on the North Pole, the South Pole, on the top of the mountain, in the valley. There will be specific qualities. So because of the round shape of the planet Earth, on the planet Earth, all the cosmic laws which are guiding life will start to have specific qualities depending on the region where they are guiding the life. And those specific qualities becomes the basis of differences in the culture, in the even religious concepts, and all life. All life gains that specific value, influence in that region. And in that sense, they are developed different cultures, different way of life, different traditions. And this is natural, and this is completely natural. And those differences are natural. So we don't want to erase differences. The traditional values should be supported in their own original expression, but also they need to gain life from that universal level so that they are connected with other specific values and feeling unified quality with other differences while they are enjoying their own differences. And this is possible only if they are able to also experience the state of yoga, which has nothing to do in a sense with specific religion or culture, or it is beyond, it's transcendental, but it is the source. And because of that, it is common to all cultures, all religions, yoga is at the basis. In that sense, we need to try to keep authenticity of the understanding of what yoga is. But yoga naturally will be connected with the way of life, will start to assume different kind of colors, we can say. The universal body of yoga with 8 limbs becomes colored. Specific colors are expressed by different religions, cultures, and spiritual traditions. And this is that picture you can see little. That you can imagine that field which is like a transparent, which is example of the state of the chitta, when there is no vrittis inside. When it's like a transparent crystal, one transparent crystal without any color. And then you put the lamps around, red lamp, yellow, green, and then you put the green lamp, then the crystal becomes green. Then put the right will become right. Not the red, right? Or yellow will become yellow. So it is starting changing its color, assuming the color. Vrittis sarupyam. It is assuming the vrittis and become identified with that according to the exposition. But in itself should not forget that it is colorless. So it can be colored. It's no problem for that. But don't forget that you are at the same time colorless, that this is your true nature. And what you are assuming is that under what influence you are there. So this is the life, is consisting of us that on one level, we are a universal being. On another level, we are involved in a specific way of life, culture, tradition, religion, and everything. But if we forget about our universal value, then we will be only exposed to differences, and the differences is always, if some disbalance, then fighting comes and all problems comes. Even from one, when becomes one, when one becomes two, then already fighting is there. But this is what Christ said, Jesus Christ, he said, if you are able to make from two one, then you are able to move the mountains. If you are able from many to make one, it means to see one in many. But first you must experience yourself as one, and that your true nature is that one which is at the basis of many. It should not be kind of only philosophical research and thinking about that, but it should be direct experience. That's why the yoga is dealt with a direct experience. Not so much philosophy, in vain, just intellectual gymnastic. It must be pratyaksha, anumana, agamaka. Patanjali says the pramana. Pramana means proper knowledge. If you want proper knowledge about yoga, first from pratyaksha, direct experience, and then understanding, your understanding, and then confirmation of the correctness of your understanding. But first thing is you must experience. Then you must understand your experience. Not that somebody is interpreting your experience and giving you kind of some ideas of in advance, or some some structure or anything. And then you try to find from the ancient text or agamaha or the master to confirm your correctness of the. So that's why the yoga practice is very concrete, very down-to-earth practice based on the direct experience, no imagination, no vikalpa, no suggestions, no imaginations or anything, direct experience, and go by that. So then the universal body of yoga is beyond any specific religion, culture, the spiritual tradition, nationalism, or whatever. It is that transcendental state, because consciousness on that level is beyond any differences. So nothing is related to that in that sense. The body, you cannot say this body belongs to this religion or that religion. It is the body. But that body you can bring to the church, that body you can bring to the mosque, that body you can go to some temple, with that body you can do this or that, but the body remains always the body. It's not the body, Christian body, Muslim body, Hinduistic body, or this or that, any body of some religion. The body is the body. And yoga is dealing with the body as a body. And what you do with your body is your own thing. And this is what we need to distinguish. So it's natural that the yoga is connected with the religions and everything. And you have Tibetan yoga, you have all kind of different kind of approaches added to yoga. Bhakti yoga, this yoga, that yoga. But we should not forget what is yoga. And then the yoga applied in that field of life, then it's getting the name of that field of life, karma yoga, in the field of action. All kind of different yogas which you have today. But the essence is yoga, which is very clearly specified what it is. It is transcendental. It is not reached by anything from outside. And this we need to keep and understanding. And then there is a nourishing value of yoga for everybody. Otherwise, if we go in some specific channel, then we are limited the yoga only in that channel. And we are not serving the yoga to be universal, applied to everybody. So one other proof about that is Aparusheya Bhashya of the Veda from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. He explains the non-religious value of Veda. Because today Veda also they are sometimes relating with the religion, but essentially like the yoga, but essentially yoga is beyond any religion, beyond anything. Veda is the same. You know, you have different expression of the Veda, like the Vedic sounds, like the Rig Veda, other Vedas, Richo Akshare, Parame Vyoman, Yasmin Devatki, Vishvenichedu, and like this. Or Agnim Ile, Purohitam, Yajñasya, Devam, the beginning of the Rig Veda. So Agnim and these expressions. But who is creating those expressions? There is a gap between the letters, A and Ga. Who is deciding that after A will come Ga, the gap? There are the gaps between the words, gaps between the letters, gaps. And the gap is transcendental value. So there is that intelligence which is structuring the Ga after A, not something else. If you are thinking something, one thought after the other thought, there are gaps. Then from where comes idea, now I should say another word, from the level of that gap is the consciousness. And that level of consciousness, which is more, if it's more silent, then it's more intelligence present in that gap. Then it will create better formulation of your words and more proper expression, what you want to say. You know, that gap, it's neither this Neither that later, neither that, it's between. This is the state of yoga, the gap. So this is the Veda. The real seat of the Veda is in the gaps, not in the letters even. So in that way, this is called fifth Veda, which is transcendental Veda, which is beyond even the Vedic language, beyond the words or any. This is the knowledge of the pure intelligence, which is the common basis of the whole life in the whole universe. So this is the Veda. It is, and that value of Veda belongs to all beings, not only the humans, but maybe other beings in the whole galaxies, other places. But they will be expressing that intelligence according to their vocal abilities, creating certain letters, words to express that intelligence in the form of that knowledge, Again, the Veda, we should understand what it is. Veda means the knowledge, and knowledge is the property of consciousness. And that level of consciousness, where there is a total intelligence awakened, is the real seat of the Veda. So, and from there, the whole universe appears. So that's why the yoga and the Veda, in its true sense, it's not only limited to the life on the planet Earth, because it is the intelligence which is at the basis of the life of the whole universe. So then that knowledge can be used on that level for all beings in the whole universe. And slowly we are coming to the end. Yoga and Veda in their essence, in that transcendental, universal for all beings in the whole universe. And because of that, anyone can practice yoga regardless of his religion, origin, caste, culture, spiritual tradition, race, nation, etc. So the yoga is appreciating every religion, every culture, every tradition, everything, all different expressions of life. And it's added to that. So then it can be yoga with that name, with that name, with that name. But those values you are nourishing, but you must nourish the source of those values, the sap. Like the colorless sap of the tree that nourishes all parts of the tree, trunk, branches, leaves, flowers, and the fruits, and yet remains colorless. The sap always remains colorless, but it is from its colorless condition, it's structuring all the colors, all the differences. So that yoga has that status of the colorless sap. And if the sap loses its colorless status, then it will not be recognized as universal, but as partial. And this is what we want to avoid with yoga, that we maintain that universal status of yoga so that yoga do not become partial, related only to understanding that it belongs to that, or differences. We should maintain the impartial and universal status of yoga for the benefit of all humanity. Only then can yoga fulfill its purpose to support unity in diversity. The state and vision of a yogi are beyond any religion, culture, nationalism, spiritual traditions, etc. And one nice saying here, even belonging to specific cultures, religions, races, etc., a yogi is universal, seeing unity in all differences. And he is like a white lotus. So this is what we want to become, the white lotus. The white lotus is rooted in the mud, but above the water, it's maintaining its cleanliness and its white value. So this is that aspect of that awakened transcendental consciousness, the source of everything, which is untouched by anything. And yet you are rooted in some specific value, in specific culture or specific condition of life and of these differences. You are rooted in that, but at the same time, we must be as a white lotus there. So this is that exposition which I prepared for this purpose. Now, for maybe 15 minutes, we have time to discuss about this. And if you have any comment on that point.
I have a question, Jazranko.
Yes.
You said the main focus is on the self-realization, main focus of yoga. And so then why is it that when people are teaching yoga and in all these things that there is not a central focus there? Because I see that missing. Even we met in the conference a couple of weeks back, and I see there also, there was I didn't find a central focus on the ultimate goal, which is infinite awareness or the consciousness or self-realization, as you put it.
Yes. And in that sense, actually, each practice of yoga, whatever it is, whether asana, kriyas, this or that practice, the main aim is to bring you to that state of the self-realization of that practice. And then with that aim, if you practice, then you will move in that direction. But technique is not for the sake of the technique. The technique you practice to go beyond the technique. The technique becomes dissolved. And what remains is that goal. On the way to the goal, techniques becomes dissolved. Whatever technique you use, whether it is asana or pranayama or whatever. So one thing is that in some practice, you are the doer. You are the doer, you do something by your will. Then you can become experiencer, that you are not anymore the doer. And then you can become the witness of the process of experiencing. So this is the goal. To reach. So it is from one step going, it's 3 steps. Back to the self is only 3 steps. You are the doer, then go from that role to become experiencer, then go from that role to become the witness of the process of experiencing. 3 steps going back, and these 3 steps are contained in any kind of the practice. You can follow those 3 steps in any practice, whether it's pranayama, asana, or any other practice. Like in Vijnana Bhairava, the science, you have different upayas. Upayas, and they are categorized in the 3 categories, like Anava Upaya, Shakta Upaya, and Shambhava Upaya. So the Anava Upaya is where you are doing something, like asana, pranayama, the technique, one of the 112 techniques. Then Shakta Upaya is that you are not the doer, somebody else is the doer, you are experiencer. And from there, the practice starts. And then the Shambhava Upaya is that you are, at the beginning, you are the witness. At the beginning, already you are the witness, you are at the goal there. So these are these 112 techniques of Vijnana Bhairava is classified in these 3 categories of the upayas. Depending on which level of the consciousness the person is, which upaya he can apply to his practice that he can be successful. So we must start from the springboard, which is adequate for us. If you want to jump into the pool, then you don't jump from the 20 meters immediately. You start with the 5 meter and then maybe 15 meter and then go to 25. Slowly by the practice, you master this. So it's a matter of the presentation of yoga to the students. What is the main aim of the practice of yoga? This must be very clear. And what is the byproduct of the practice of yoga, we can say? To have strong body, to have this, and all flexibility, everything. But what is the aim? What is the purpose?
To have a clear direction of where this is ultimately going.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Mimunji, do you have any? I met Mimun many years already back. And as I said, he's the last samurai in the West, great master of the martial arts, educated in Japan from the very traditional samurai way. And we are expecting his next topic will be of our webinar about relation of the yoga with the martial art, through his experience he had in his life.
My opinion, indeed, the aim of yoga that you said.
Yes.
Was the real way of yoga today, because it's going in opposite way. Today is not like long time ago. Today we have the diversity is attacked by adversity. We have many adversities in the planet, and I never saw any yogi man talking about these adversities.
Mm-hmm.
We are teachers. We should inform to our students how yoga is more difficult today because the adversity is global. It's not personal. We have each one his own adversity, but today yoga has too many adversities. That is one way we should be all agree to manifest ourselves and to begin one times more to yoga to his main goal. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. About the way to be one with the universe, science, my last conference was spirituality and science. Any person who understands the atom, he can understand the four forces of the physics. Once we know those forces, we can say we can arrive to that point too. Same way, same manner to understand how we are all in all parts at the same time. That's also my opinion. But
yes, excellent. It is.
I remember when we went in Bhopal.
Yes.
That's for saying my talk, okay? My speech.
Yes, yes. It is the laws which are guiding life in the spiritual field and the material field are the same. Just they are in the physical expressed in the physical reality, in the spiritual is expressed in the spiritual kind of the principles. But the same, the laws are guiding the life. How it is on earth, so it's in heaven. So, and then that understanding can support each other. For example, the Nikola Tesla was studying the Sankhya. And then he found that these laws expressed in the Sankhya, relation of 1 and 3, and the numbers all, he can express in the physical laws and what he created, all these fantastic, designs. And just I remember 2 days ago was his birthday. So thank you. Yes, anybody? Amandio? You are from Portugal.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
You know Mimoun.
Yes, I love Mimoun. He's
Yeah.
one of my good friends and in my heart. Long years ago we found. And he has been here in Portugal a few months ago. It's an honor to be with you. A big hug for both, for everyone.
Thank you.
Namaste for this moment. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So Jadranko, I leave, okay?
Yes, 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 yes. Yes, we will slowly be concluding. Thank you very much, and we stay in contact.
Un abrazo.
Yes, I also remember now the White Lotus in the Zen. In the Japan, the samurais were favoring the flower, the purity of that flower. They were always the masters, any part of the planet Earth, they were enjoying the purity of some specific qualities of the nature, which were expressing that quality of consciousness they were achieving.
Okay, thank you, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste, and thank you all. And see you next time.
Can I ask one question, Jadranko?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, just adding on to what Mimoun was saying, shouldn't we be actually, presenting yoga as a solution to what is happening in the world today, like a solution to the problems.
Yes.
Yeah, as the world is now, how the world is now, and with the problem, apart from just being as a subject or a topic of study, how can this actually solve the problems of the world today, my personal problems and also that of the collective?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, this is a beautiful question, and yoga is giving that solution for that. It says, Tat Sanidhau Vairatyagaha. So that in the vicinity of the sattva, all these kind of diversities or these negative tendencies becomes subsided. They become less and less in the vicinity of the sattva, in the vicinity of the coherence. And we need to create that quality in the collective consciousness, in the collective mind. Because in reality, what Patanjali says, the manas, there is in reality no individual manas. The manas is a collective mind, which is there. But out of that collective, we are making our individual version of our individual mind by our asmita, by our ego. But we are all connected with that one mind, one collective consciousness. And each individual consciousness is related to that. And then what we do in that our individual consciousness is affecting the condition of the collective consciousness. So that's why if many people change their state of consciousness by practice of yoga, then this will create a strong effect of the change in the collective consciousness, which is affecting, influencing the life of all the people. So this is the yogic approach. So the yogic approach is not going on demonstrations or making a kind of big conferences, speaking about peace and being outside. The yogic approach to solve that problem is to go in and enliven that samadhi state, enliven that quality which will radiate in the collective consciousness and neutralize those tensions and all problems. And I can say now it's also recently they are planning to organize from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi the group of 10,000 yogi flyers towards the end of this year to be gathered on one place for almost 1 month to create that big wave of coherence in collective consciousness. And then with the practice of the Yajnas collective, Adi, Rudra, Abhishek, and other on the global scale, it can have that effect. It is very well known that many times 1945, it was in the newspaper, then the Swami Brahmananda Saraswati, the teacher of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, was a great saint, the Shankaracharya of Jyotirmath. He organized big yajna, the biggest in the world at that time, to stop the Second World War. It was the biggest yajna on the biggest scale organized there. And after that, the war was dropping down. So this is not so much known in the world, but there is a record of that event. So that's a Vedic technology. Those kind of practices are very valuable for the peace in the world. But we should do our work. Our work is yogi work to reach the state of yoga. We just need to take care of that. And then we are radiating that. And this is the influence which is more concrete. It is unseen because then because it is not seen, it is not heard, not spoken, they think it's nothing concrete. But this is more concrete than any conference, or any kind of outer attempt to create the peace. This is the greatest. Those who are able to participate in that kind of internal, those are very valuable for the society. That's why they were always giving time to those people, have those groups in the, so that they don't need to bother about their daily existence. They were supporting them with the food and the place so that they can practice their practices for the benefit of the whole society. And this tradition should be reestablished again. So yes.
And where is that conference? You said 10,000 flyers, or not conference?
They are still deciding the place. It will be towards the end of December, but some of the places are still in consideration. One of the places is in Madhya Pradesh, in the region of the Brahmastan of India, where it is, where there is already a group of few thousand Vedic Pandits doing together some of them. So there are different places, but to accommodate 10,000 people needs to be properly organized.
Okay.
Yes, so thank you very much, everybody, for being present. And then I invite you for the next webinar, which I will send information about that. So thank you very much, and see you next time.
Thank you.